Welcome to AUDL Weekly. It's the middle of June, the AUDL regular season is exactly halfway done, and you have found the latest episode of the show all about ultimate stories, perspectives, conversations, and more. My name is Evan Lepler, and we've got a really good program for you tonight. In just a little bit, Adam and Daniel will chime in with their thoughts on another spirited disc debate, and then Matt Smith brings us Austin's QB1 Jake Radack with another Upline and Out of Bounds. But first, a beautiful, albeit warm day for a toss as I bring you another dose of the fastest 3 minutes in Frisbee. You're watching AUDL Weekly on AUDL.tv, so stick around. All right, welcome back. Some very entertaining games in Week 7 and also some genuine surprises. Arguably no bigger shocker than seeing Toronto get the win at Montreal. Now, there was a time when the Rush owned the Royale, and this wouldn't be a surprise, but certainly different circumstances now. Montreal had won the last 7 meetings against Toronto, and they were 6-goal favorites according to DraftKings this past Saturday. But the Rush, 1 week after losing on their home field by 17, bounced back with a thrilling 1-goal win. Had to be a remarkable feeling for everyone involved with the Rush to experience such different extremes in consecutive weeks. And look, the Rush probably won't be a playoff team this season, but this was still a win they'll remember for a long time as they look to rebuild into a championship contender. And I think Toronto will enjoy knocking Montreal down a pedestal in the Royals' playoff pursuit. This loss could end up coming back to bite Montreal. We shall see. Of course, the main event in the East Division this past weekend was the Friday night showdown in New York. And while DC had the disc with a chance to inch within one a couple times in the fourth, the Empire still won by a relatively comfortable 4-goal margin. Empire sweep the season series against the Breeze. New York's now 8-0, clearly establishing themselves as the title favorite here in June. But there's still a ways to go before we get to August, when the important games will actually unfold in the postseason. In terms of perfect records, though, New York joined by Colorado and Chicago as the Summit and the Union both remained unbeaten this past weekend. Summit absolutely destroying the Salt Lake Shred, 25-20 on Friday night in Utah. Frankly, it wasn't that close. Colorado completing 17 of 19 hucks in the Thin Mountain Air. And then down closer to sea level on Saturday, the Summit erupted for 29 more scores and another 5-goal win over the Oakland Spiders. So Colorado is 6-0. Meanwhile, Chicago is 4-0 atop the Central following their 22-21 win over Madison on Friday night. Radicals came back from 4 down in the fourth to tie it, but Ross Barker's game winner in the final minute propelled Chicago to the 1-goal win. Elsewhere across the league in Week 7, the Portland Nitro suffered 2 more close losses in their trip to Southern California. Aviators beat Portland by 1 on Friday, and then the Growlers edged the Nitro by 2 on Saturday. Disappointing stretch continues for the Nitro as they've now lost 4 straight and have fallen to 2-5 on the season. On the flip side of that, though, LA is now 3-3 with all 3 of their wins by a single goal, while San Diego's won 4 in a row since their opening night loss to Salt Lake. Growlers are 4-1 as they get set for their tough gauntlet on their schedule. Growlers actually have 5 of their next 6 on the road, including the next 3. Quickly, other action this past weekend included Carolina taking care of business against Dallas 23-15, so the Flyers bounced back from their first loss the previous week in Austin. Atlanta defeats Tampa Bay for the 3rd time this year, 23-18 home win for the Hustle. Flyers and Hustle collide in Atlanta this coming Friday evening in what should be a really good game. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Wind Chill won their 4th straight with a 20-14 win over Pittsburgh, outscoring the Thunderbirds 11-3 in the second half of that one to break it open. And Indianapolis broke it open relatively early against the Detroit Mechanix. 32-18, the AlleyCats over the Mechanix. If you're keeping track, that's now the 56th straight loss for the Mechanix dating back to April of 2017. AlleyCats are 4-2, but they are 3-0 against Detroit, 1-2 against everybody else. No more Mechanix on the schedule. Indy will have to prove it against everybody else the rest of the season. All right, that's the rundown from Week 7, and it's just about time to bring aboard Adam and Daniel. Toss-up coming up after the break here on AUDL Weekly. Back here on AUDL Weekly, joined by Adam Ruffner and Daniel Cohen for another edition of Toss Up. You can hear Adam and Daniel on the Swing Pass podcast twice every week. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Let's dive right in with topic number 1. Their teams play this Friday. Daniel, we'll start with you. Who would you rather have as your initiation cutter? Austin's Evan Swiatek, a Chicago native, by the way, or Chicago's Ross Barker?
It might be my Union bias showing a little bit, but I'll lean towards Ross here. I mean, these guys are such good and dominant initiating cutters. You really have to really nitpick the differences between the two. I think I lean towards Ross when it comes to quickness and his ability to operate in small spaces, specifically in the red zone. Like, we've seen him drop back into the backfield, go every other with Pavel. That's something that I think is a huge asset to the Union offense and a big part of their red zone efficiency. And then, of course, his ability to get downfield. He just has so many ways he beats his defenders, whether it's like quick, shifty, small ball movement or like playing chess with his positioning. He's really fun to watch. It's really nothing against Swiatek. Just wanted to take the opportunity to talk up Ross a bit. So I'm leaning Barker.
We know if there's a choice for you to choose Chicago, you usually go with the Windy City. Adam, what do you think?
This one's a close one.
It wasn't that close. You always pick Chicago, guys. Come on. I really like this comparison. I think these are two of the most technically literate receivers in the league right now. Like Daniel just said, Ross can beat you in a variety of ways. So can Evan Swiatek. I think he's got one of the best initiating maneuvers around, but he's developed, I think, a really good continuation game in 2022. He can beat you with the speed. He can beat you with the skies. But I'm going to have to agree with Daniel. I just love Barker and what he does for this Union offense right now. They were down a couple of starters this past weekend. It didn't matter. Barker still gets the go-ahead goal in the final minute of the game, going deep. It just feels like whenever there's a need score for the Chicago offense, Barker comes through. And that's not to say anything or take away anything from Evan Swiatek. It's just that Barker's been doing this now consistently at this level in big games for 2 to 3 seasons for Chicago.
Interesting. Adam, quick follow-up. What do you mean when you say two of the most technically literate cutters in the league?
I just think that the ways in which they get open, they're so good on their first steps. They're so good in tight spaces. They're so good at manipulating where defenders are. They sort of hit you with a couple of moves early, and then later they'll almost use those as feint to set up their second and third moves or get into a completely different kind of route running. I just think that the ways in which both of them attack defenses and the way they keep themselves active throughout the game is close to second to none in this league. They're two truly elite receivers.
Good stuff. We'll see them match up, at least on their respective O-lines, against the other team's D-lines on Friday night. Another comparison, topic number 2. Adam, they play on Saturday. Who would you rather have anchoring your offense? Carolina's Saul Yannick or Atlanta's Austin Taylor?
All right, it's time for me to hedge a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of Daniel's magic. If we're talking about in the Carolina offense, playing in the offense he already exists, I'm taking Saul Yannick. I think there are maybe 2 to 3 better initiating throwers in this league than Yannick in the Flyers offense. He just has a knack for knowing where to go with the disc. I think if you're fantasy drafting onto almost any roster, then I'm going to pick Draco. I mean, it's hard not to fall in love with Draco's just raw aesthetic as a thrower, the power he has, the way he just quickly sets into those full field hucks from either side. So, you know, if I'm just kind of building a roster from scratch, I might choose Draco for the pure throwing talent. But if I'm looking for a QB1, I mean, it's hard not to look past Saul Yannick, last year's league leader in passing yards.
So who would you rather have anchoring your offense?
Picked both.
If it's the Carolina offense, it's Saul Yannick. If it's just a random assemblage of players, it's Draco. I'll pick Yannick. I'll pick Yannick. I'm picking the reigning
pick Draco. All right, whatever.
Put the crown on.
Daniel, give us some bold declarative answer.
Yeah, something I clearly don't do often enough. I'm taking Saul Yannick. I mean, whereas the first comparison between Barker and Swiatek is really splitting hairs when it comes to their play styles, this seems like a much more black and white comparison. Like, it's Saul Yannick is the rock, steady center handler in the backfield. Draco, obviously much more of a high-risk, high-reward thrower, much more hucking range, but Saul Yannick still has the ability, that deep dimension. So I feel like if you put Saul Yannick in a Draco role, he could still have that success. But, you know, just the 96% completion percentage, he is that steady presence you want in the backfield, and the way he can get it done in the backfield, in addition to attacking downfield with his throws, he strikes a really nice balance without turning the disc over too much. So I'm going to lean Saul.
It's always fun to see the facial expressions from the other guy when there's just a little tidbit that you don't necessarily completely agree with.
Yannick doesn't like great. Throwing deep, I think, was one of the things he was edging towards there. It's just, okay, all right.
I don't know. I don't remember what I said, but I don't think I said that.
It was a slight distortion of the words, I think.
Yeah.
Never done that.
Let's move on. Topic number 3. Daniel, which of these teams that are currently undefeated is more of a sure thing here in week 7 of making championship weekend? The Colorado Summit or your Chicago Union?
So after week 6, I really was not at all sold on Colorado, but looking back and seeing what they did this weekend, where they just came into Salt Lake and stomped the shred, I'm going to take Colorado as more of a sure thing, which I also interpret just to mean more likely to make championship weekend at this point. Maybe there is a slightly bigger gap than I might have anticipated in that West Division between Colorado and Salt Lake and the rest of the division, because I think Colorado has just gotten better and better every single week, and they've really gotten their efficiency down, both offensively, defensively. John Nethercutt is playing like one of the best QBs in the league. Quinn Finer, Alex Atkins, Matt Jackson, Jay Frew. They have such a nice complement of guys around Nethercutt, and they were hitting their stride this past weekend. Put up a season-high 29 goals against Oakland the day after taking down Salt Lake. So, I don't know, I'm pretty high on Colorado right now, and I'm just not so sure about the Chicago D-line still. Still have to wait until we get more games with Dalton Smith and Nate Goff, but they struggled against Madison. They could have put that game away with how good their offense was looking, but they didn't. So I think that division is going to be a lot tighter.
Adam,
are you mile high about Colorado? Sorry, I had to go on that one. You were a late arriver to the Colorado bandwagon this year.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm picking the Summit. Yeah. Nethercutt looks like an MVP thrower for this team. Jay Fruit is making a jaw-dropping play per game for them. They've just got playmakers everywhere with the aforementioned Finer, Atkins. Cody Spicer is playing like one of, if not the best defender in the league right now. He just takes the opposing team's best option out of their game. I really like the Summit right now. I think New York still is ahead above other teams and how they're playing against the rest of the league, but Colorado and their confidence and their ability to make plays is really something to watch out for as we turn into the second half of the season.
Alrighty, Chicago with the big home game on Friday night. But our fourth topic and final topic is about the Saturday night matchup in Madison. Adam, you get the honors of starting it out. Who you got, the Austin Soul or the Madison Radicals? First ever meeting between these two franchises.
You're really putting us in a vice grip with making us pick against the cities we live in. I don't like how this is trending this week. It feels personal. Madison has been battling tough this year. They're 4-2. They've been sustaining a series of injuries, particularly to their handling lines on both offense and defense. They played really well on the road in Chicago, narrowly losing to the Union. They were trailing by 4 at the start of the fourth quarter and tied it by the end of that game before ultimately losing by 1. Radicals, I don't think, have put together a 4-quarter game quite yet this year. And I'm worried about that against this Austin team that is coming off of their best franchise win. I think the Soul offense presents a lot of problems for Madison defense that is having a little bit of problems with getting takeaways right now compared to their historical rates as a team, and just the way Kyle Henke's playing, with the way that Jake Radack is playing, Mark Evans, this Soul offense is in rhythm. They're going to have a night to prepare in Chicago. They're going to be coming into Madison, I think, with a lot of confidence. I don't know that they necessarily even win that game in Chicago, but I think that them having a game to sort of warm up and getting to play in the environment of Breeze Stevens is going to be very exhilarating for this Austin team. You can see them kind of talking about it already. So I'm going to take Austin. I really like where they're at right now. I think that they have the motivation to go 2-0 this weekend and keep themselves in that tight playoff race in the South Division.
Daniel?
Taking the Soul. I think this offense is just too good. They're the 5th most efficient offense in the entire league this year. I just don't think Madison is going to be able to keep up with them throughout this game. Surprisingly, we saw Madison have a chance against Chicago, despite the Chicago offense looking way better than the Madison offense. But a lot of that, like I said before, came down to Chicago's inability to convert breaks. I don't think Austin's going to have that problem. Their D-line has been very good this year, in addition to their O-line. They feel very efficient and very sound overall. And like Adam mentioned, they're coming off their biggest win in franchise history, taking down Carolina. I don't think Madison has the ability to take down Carolina quite yet. So I'm going to lean Austin here, even in the tough road environment at Breeze Stevens.
Interesting. A lot of agreement today. The one case for Madison is the Radicals are a tricky team to play for teams that have never played them before. And I think Steven Nagy will have them prepared. But Adam, you said they have a night to prepare in Chicago. I mean, is that a good thing or is that a drawback? They have to go 4 quarters with Chicago on Friday and then go into the gauntlet at Breeze Stevens Field the next night. So, look, the Radicals, I doubt they'll get blown.
Get a whole minute to talk on your own at the end here. We get to rebut some of this stuff. Hold on. Chicago's defense hasn't quite been playing up to, I think, where we have them in our heads after they played last season. That was part of why Madison crept through the back door of this last game, was that Chicago's D-line could not punch home its opportunities. Austin does not allow many opportunities to begin with. They had just 9 turnovers in their last game. I'm just worried about Chicago's ability to be effective if Dalton Smith is not in the lineup for them.
That's fair. I forgot. The fine print says I'm not allowed to speak for more than 30 consecutive seconds in this segment.
To read the
so
rules.
I get the rest of the show.
Right there. It's right down there.
Alrighty. I think folks are done hearing from us. They want to hear from Jake Radack. He's Matt Smith's guest on Upline and Out of Bounds. But first, you got a little bit more of Daniel Cohen. Here's another Cohen's Cut.
What's up, AUDL fans? Daniel Cohen here with this week's Cohen's Cut. Today we're going to be looking at the Chicago Union and how they transition out of zone defense to limit opposing offenses. Now, zone defenses can be really effective creating backfield pressure by facilitating double teams, stopping easy in cuts, and generally just forcing a lot of throws, including difficult throws over the top or through the zone. If they're broken though, zones can run into trouble when offenses are able to string together multiple throws without letting the zone reset. So instead of letting this weakness hurt Chicago's zone defense, last season they did a lot of transitioning out of zone into matchup-based defense once the opposing offense got moving. So in this example, we see Chicago set up a 2-3-2 zone with the Flyers backed up in their own end zone. For the first 5 throws, the zone is mostly doing its job. Carolina hasn't gained significant yards, the front of the zone is maintaining pressure on the handlers, and the defense hasn't gotten out of position at all. It's not until Saul Yannick throws a hammer over the top to the far side of the field that the zone is really broken, and it's this throw that triggers the switch into matchup defense. So, rather than having the 2 defenders at the front of the zone chase the disc all the way to that far sideline, the wing defender on that side takes the nearest cutter, the 2 handler defenders remain on the handlers, and the rest of the zone takes the nearby matchup in each player's vicinity. Part of what makes the transition so smooth is communication, and also the team defaulting to taking away the biggest threat in each player's immediate area. Before coming up to guard Jacob Fairfax, watch Sam Kaminsky drop back onto Henry Fisher until he's sure there's a defender that can take that matchup. This transition slows the pace of the offense. If they hadn't transitioned, the offense could have taken advantage of the out-of-position zone after that initial hammer. Chicago controlled the pace of their opponents all season with this approach. Slow down the game with zone defense initially, then stop the offense from running through the zone by transitioning back into matchup defense once it breaks. After slowly progressing downfield, the Flyers ultimately force a throw into tight matchup D in the red zone, where Drew Swanson lays out past Henry Fisher for the Union block. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join me next time for another Cohen's Cut.
What's up, AUDL world? Welcome to another episode of Upline and Out of Bounds. Today I am joined by a very exciting, I guess technically a rookie, out of Austin, Seoul, Mr. Jake Radack. How's it going, Jake?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited to have you on the show. We've had some great battles, so I'm excited for the audience to get to know you a little better. So we're going to jump right into it. He's familiar with it. So first question, hometown.
I am from Washington, D.C.
Cool. Current age?
I'm 24.
And are you attending college? If so, what degree are you pursuing?
I am in my final semester of graduate school at the University of Texas, getting a degree in architecture.
Very interesting. All right, we're going to switch over to ultimate side a little bit. Current position on the field?
I think I'm a handler.
We've seen it. I'm sure they'll have some clips to show here. Fill us in on your ultimate origin story.
In 6th grade, my favorite teacher, history teacher, was like, oh, I'm starting a Frisbee team. I joined in, and by the end of 6th grade, I was captain. So I fell in love with the sport quickly.
Wow. All right. So from elementary school all the way to the pros, favorite AUDL moment so far?
I've only had a couple games so far, but I think my favorite moment was actually last season while I was injured. We upset Dallas on the first game of the season, and I was on a knee scooter. And as soon as that buzzer hit 0, I threw the scooter and hopped onto the field on one leg.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I think I heard you won MVP. You were voted MVP last year despite not playing a single game. Is that true?
I think it was actually best teammate.
Oh, okay.
Not so hard if you're the injured guy, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That is a testament to, I'm sure, the kind of teammate you are. All right. Well, we went through the rapid fire intro, and we're going to jump into today's game segment, which is...
Oh, this is exciting.
Goats.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a classic, greatest of all time. I've got a few categories that I'm going to give you, and you tell me, who, what, when, where, what you think greatest of all time in that category.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, first one here. You've said that you are a huge music guy. 25 shows this year, is that right?
I mean, Austin is the live music capital of the world, they say.
All right, so greatest of all time, a band that you've seen live.
Ooh, best live show. Tame Impala was really cool.
All right. Where'd you see him? Give us the little.
It was Austin City Limits, which is the big music festival that happens here every fall. It was my first time there. Crazy show with all the lights and everything. It was awesome.
All right. Maybe I'll check them out if they come through Atlanta. Next question here. Just sticking on the music side. Greatest of all time movie soundtrack to dance to.
Oh, that's tough.
I knew that one might be a little
That's
tough,
a good one. My favorite movie soundtrack from this year was Licorice Pizza.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it yet, definitely watch it. Good songs to dance to in there, definitely.
All right.
Life on Mars. Good
All
needle
right,
drop.
all right. I will add that to the list. Is that your answer then, licorice pizza?
That's my answer, licorice pizza.
All right. Everybody, look that up. We'll get we'll look into it moving forward. All right. Next one here. Originally from DC, so greatest of all time tourist attraction in the DC area.
Ooh, that's a toughie. All the museums are really fun to go to, but I got to give it up to the cherry blossoms because they're only around 1 week of the year and they're gorgeous.
All right, the cherry blossoms. What time of year? You don't got to give me the week. I'm sure it changes. What time of year?
One of the weeks in April, I think.
Okay. April.
And there's
cherry
always
blossoms, DC. That's the place to
There's
be.
always a big race that happens, and I used to run it with my dad. 10-mile race along all the cherry blossoms.
Ah, very cool. Very cool. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Greatest of all time, Austin Soul player.
I think that's got to go to either DJ Loscorn or Andrew Walsh. Both guys are retired now, but I've had the pleasure of meeting them the past couple of years, and they're a great time. And I've seen a couple clips. They were awesome players back in their day.
All right, I like that. Paying respect to your elders. I know those guys, a lot of battles with them. So, I respect that answer. Good stuff there. All right, well, we are unfortunately out of time for today, but before we get out of here, any last shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to the Austin Torch for finishing up a great season with a huge win right before our game last week. And also shout out to KPS. I'm excited to come to town and kick his butt next weekend. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I was already looking forward to it, but even more so now, looking forward to watching you take on the Madison Radicals in the FS2 Game of the Week. But for now, back to Evan.
Appreciate it. Go Celtics.
Great stuff as usual. Upline and Out of Bounds, always my favorite part of the show, personally. Jake Radack certainly making a splash for the Austin Soul in his first season, as he's been able to take the field this year after being injured last year. And Austin has arguably the most anticipated doubleheader of any team in the league all season coming up here in Week 8. They're at Chicago on Friday and Madison on Saturday. Should be a really exciting weekend just for those games, but we also have rivalry showdowns like Carolina and Atlanta, San Diego, LA, other enticing matchups too. Looking forward to the exhilarating weekend around the league. But for now, that'll do it for the show tonight. My thanks to Adam Ruffner, Daniel Cohen, Matt Smith, Jake Radack, and Luke Johnson, our editor extraordinaire. Thanks to you as well for being with us. That's a wrap for our 15th episode of AUDL Weekly this year. Reminder, if you want to go back and see what Adam and Daniel have gotten right or wrong along the way, you can watch every episode archived on AUDL.tv. And don't forget the bonus content also available each week on AUDL.tv. But for now, I'm Evan Lepler. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy all the Ultimate coming up this weekend, and I'll talk to you again right back here next Wednesday.